Today, we are going to make some grass. No, I'm not in Colorado, so it's not going to be that kind of grass. It's our techniques that are so simple and sensible, your modelers have practically built themselves. Hello folks, it's Mad Dog Merv and welcome to today's show. Today I'm going to update you on the build of the USS Louisiana, the Montana class battleship, the last battleship that was authorized by Congress, BB-71. What I'm going to be doing with mine, I've decided instead of doing a World War II look that I really would like to have probably right after it was launched. Maybe when it was going through its trials. By the time the Louisiana would have been launched, could have possibly been launched, it would have been late 1945 at the earliest, probably early 1946. And by then, of course, the war is over, so they send it over to get its fit out of anti-aircraft guns and whatnot. And, well, by this time, war's over. Probably not going to get all the 20 millimeter that a lot of the other ships got, because there just isn't the need, anymore. And it may not get as many of the 40 millimeters as it would have during wartime. But definitely a bunch of the 20s, we're going to delete that. Also, I wanted to do this with the wooden deck, and instead of buying one of those really nice wooden decks, which would have been smart, I want to try and simulate one. So, that's, I think you saw an earlier video where I kind of updated you folks on how I did that. Then I need to find the right scheme that was just post-war and get that paint, find the right paints for that. And then, so one of the things I wanted to do was, there was a drawing that I think it was Admiral Nimitz and was it Halsey? Anyway, had sat down and they'd kind of drawn up over coffee one day their idea of a modification to the Missouris that would delete the conning tower and move the bridge area back more so that the arcs of fire for the 5-inch guns and the 40 millimeter guns would be clearer. And it also designed putting the two funnels together. Neat looking drawing. In fact, I think I've got it here.
That Nimitz and Halsey were sitting together having coffee, and they kind of were talking about a design, and this is the design they came up with, taking the two funnels, putting it into one. This was for the Iowa class, if they could do their ultimate, removing the conning tower so you've got better field of fire, and also moving the bridge back just a little bit. So kind of an interesting look.
So I want to incorporate the fact that they probably would have deleted the conning tower by the time this thing got built. They were planning on doing it to the last couple of Missouris, which didn't get built. And like I say, they were probably going to delete them from these in the final build to save some weight that they could use for something else. And this kit, it comes with two different bridges. It comes with one that's kind of an open bridge, which is a neat idea, neat concept. But honestly, by the time these would have been built, they would have had a very similar bridge to what the New Jersey, Missouri, Wisconsin had by 1945. So I need to use that, which that does come in the Montana kit. That exact bridge comes in the Montana kit, and it comes in this kit as well, but it has the conning tower in it. I'm going to delete the conning tower, and I'm going to move the bridge back, and we're going to see how this thing looks. It's ought to be kind of interesting, definitely very unique, especially with the wood deck and the post-war paint. So come on, let's take a look.
So here's the stock bridge kind of mocked up, and it just doesn't look like I really want it to, so we're going to do some experimenting.
Okay, so here's a fun little piece. So the kit shows that this goes here, the conning tower goes here, and then you're supposed to assemble it with this piece here for the Louisiana, which is great. But it comes with the parts for the Montana, which show it going something like this. I don't know what's supposed to take the place of this. Anyway, so I could have this really cool looking bridge here, which is what the Montana kit shows. It's more like what would be on the Missouri kit, or we can have more of this open bridge. So let's see what I decide to do.
But here was one thought of possibly taking this this enclosed bridge and just putting it on top of this other one, and no, that's not going to work. But maybe putting it in place of it now, that might work. And you can see what I decided to do, put it in place of. It looks good. I did delete the conning tower, but I thought this front part here would work out very well for a mount for a couple of 20 millimeters. So anyway, decided to keep that part. So for the most part on full hull ships, we'll just tape it off and paint that bottom, that anti-fouling red, and call it good, and put the black boot top on it. But I had seen this on a World of Warships, and I thought, oh, that's the effect I want, that kind of a weathered, faded, multi-tonal look. So how am I going to do that? I had an idea, and well, you'll see what we do here. So I took some craft paint, first this color, and then I took some red and used a sponge brush, the end of a sponge brush that I had cut down a bit. And as you can see, as it dries, it gives me some nice tonal variations. When it's wet, it just doesn't look right, so you gotta wait for it to dry. And yeah, I think it's turning out okay so far. So here's the colors I used. There's a brown and kind of a brownish red, and another brownish red, and then a red. So these are the tones I wound up with, and I'm very happy with this. But I wanted something else a little bit different, maybe kind of a greenish, and so I took this brown violet and tried that, and it was just the trick for what the look I was going for.
Let me just tell you, I did invent a few brand new swear words trying to get this thing together, and it's the Photo-etch. You know, I would rather have a proctologist named Dr. Hook than have to do Photo-etch, and I'm serious about that. It's not necessarily the bending, which isn't too bad. It's the cutting it off. It's the grinding that little nub. Even though I have one of those nice diamond files, still, inevitably you bend some parts, and then these little teeny parts, bling, they fly off and they're gone. And then gluing with super glue. Number one, I hate super glue. Number two, I hate super glue. And number three, I hate super glue. And you have to use, to glue Photo-etch, pretty much super glue. I mean, you can use white glue in some cases, but not in all of them. There's no way. So anyway, I'll bring you up to date on where we are on this thing and what we've been doing. 90+% done. So there's not a whole lot left to do. Thank goodness. Okay, we're going to start here at the front, and this is not the permanent jack staff that I've got for this. It's also, if you'll notice, the railings that I've got on this. I still need to finish painting the back side of them, and I do not have the chain on the anchor yet. So yeah, we've still got a little bit to do there. But
the 40 millimeter Bofors. So this kit comes with these particular weapons, which would be great for earlier in the war, but for for post-war, yeah, this is not going to cut it. So what I've had to do is build some of my own shields, and you'll see that in a minute. Turret number 1, turret number 2, and one thing I noticed in the early post-war period was life rafts on deck. So I've gone ahead and simulated that. Noticed that in, I think it was the Missouri and the New Jersey both. So here's our bridge, how that turned out. And yes, I've done some weathering. I still need to do more. I need to finish up the funnels. The funnels are just a nightmare when it comes to the photo etch. So I still have a little bit of that to do. A little bit of detail painting. But you can see I do have some of the photo etch done. I've added some more boats, because post-war they started to put more boats back on. So here's the guards that I built for the 40 millimeter. Scratch built these, and I'm going to go ahead and put those on all of my 40 mil, but it's going to take a little while to get to all of them, obviously. You can see I don't have them on this here. Now, the ship's railings actually came from a Yamato set from Gold Medal Models. I just happened to have, and I thought, well, I'm not going to build a Yamato, but it should have ample railings for the hull, so that's what I used here. Up in this area, of course, all of this photo etch comes with this kit. Why they just couldn't include the rest of this, I have no clue at all. You can see I still have this funnel to take care of, and most of these 40 mils that I've got to work on. I've got windlasses that need to be put, or hose reels that need to be put in certain areas here that take some photo etch, so that it's still not quite done yet. But you kind of get the idea of where we're at with this. I do like how the decks turned out. Here's the some extra life rafts underneath. I am going to replace this with a photo etch piece. Don't worry, but that's going to be a while before I get to that. First of all, I've got to find one that's appropriate for it. So you can see overall, and I did some lettering down here. It's the only letters I could find. I've since sent for one from Shapeways that should be here soon. But overall, that's how we are so far.